Hello my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Well guys, we have a powerful, what is over here at the Watchers, listed as a 7.7, which we are showing on the USGS as a 7.5 earthquake that hit Sulawesi in Indonesia. Tsunami warning was issued, and this is shallow. So as far as looking at it over here, they're listing it as a 7.5, 10 kilometers deep. And so it is a shallow earthquake. It's a very powerful one. It comes right on the heels of a 6.1 that was also shallow in the same area. And unfortunately, we do have video of a tsunami coming in. And this one right here, this is out of the mirror. And I'll let you guys play it. It is definitely scary. It's not for the faint of heart. As it comes in slowly from the shore, I think people underestimated how much water is coming. You see houses that they look like they're damaged from the earthquake in the forefront, basically right there on the beach. And then as the water comes in, it just obliterates them totally, and the people run panicked. So watch it at your own discretion. It's definitely something that is a very scary thing to see, but also just to let you know and let everybody know, how you could get caught off guard with these things, because it didn't seem like people realized how much water was rolling in until it was right on top of them. And at that point, anybody on the beach, it was just too late. And the people that are filming this are up higher off the beach, and then you could see the water rushing by on the other side, as well as later on in the film another view of it. So a major earthquake in Indonesia again, 7.5. This one's shallow, and again, shallow earthquakes give you more damage. Larger, deeper earthquakes, those will usually end up causing more earthquakes later on downstream, as far as the way that the tectonic plate action goes. But this one did generate a tsunami, and you could see it coming in, and there is loss of life, although we don't know what it is yet. There definitely is by looking at the tsunami coming in. Excuse me. Definitely a very scary scene, and you could definitely hear the people panicking as they go. And so we'll pray for those people and pray for all in Indonesia. Indonesia is definitely one of the areas on the planet that has the most big earthquakes. It's a very, very seismic, active zone, obviously in the Ring of Fire. And this is definitely not something you want anybody to go through. And so, again, 7.7 initially, 7.5 according to USGS now, causing a tsunami. And when we take a peek, we also have a 5.6 off of Martinique, not quite antipodal to Indonesia. The antipode for the Sulawesi one is actually in northern Brazil, but still, it just made me wonder if it was an antipode. And you can see that one over here. There's also a 4.4 over in Italy and a 4.0 in Turkey. As you see, the big one here, the 7.5, which there are many aftershocks going on in the 5s. And so we also have powerful Typhoon Trami slamming into Japan with life-threatening impacts, and this should happen sometime in the next day or so. It's Saturday PM. It's going to start to hit the islands like through Okinawa. It's basically going to curve around and start heading to the northeast, as we had spoken of before. Right now, it's currently a Category 3. Equal to a Category 3 hurricane. It's a typhoon because of the location. And so this area, obviously Japan has been just devastated with one storm after another. on top of everything that's going on. So Japan's going to get another blast again, and this is basically going to just curve and go straight up through Japan. The entire islands is what they are forecasting. So again, you're going to have extreme risk of flooding, destructive rain, winds, mudslides, storm surge. Not a good situation. Dangerous seas, in excess of 34 feet. They were actually measured quite a bit higher previously. But this is not a good situation for an area that's been hit so many times already. This has been an extremely rough summer for Japan. And in Greece, they're preparing for Storm Zorba. And it's basically a Medicane, another Medicane, Mediterranean hurricane. And this is going to be impacting the Greek Isles. And they're warning people not to go out into the streets in the next few days unless it's absolutely necessary. And of course, this is named after the film, Zorba the Greek. And so the conditions are expected to worsen Friday, affecting the island of Crete, the Cyclades Islands, the Peloponnese Peninsula, and other parts of the southern and western mainland. Winds are expected to reach up to about 62 miles per hour. And so it's going to be a rough one for them over there. We have winter officially arriving in one Swedish town with 5 consecutive days of sub-zero average daytime temperatures. And that is Sweden's official meteorological definition of winter. So winter has started on September 23rd in Sweden, which is far earlier than average. Usually it comes sometime in October for the mountains. And we have scientists. Do you remember Oumuamua, or Oumuamua? This was that rock that many people believe, well, we're saying rock, many people believe it was actually a ship because of its, not only its size and shape, which would be exactly what you would expect for an interstellar ship, but also the way it came in and slingshotted around the sun and took off from a different direction than we typically see, and exactly how people would use, how intelligent beings would use a star to create more speed and momentum. So, is this still more of a cover-up? Now, this is out of Live Science, which ultimately, yes, this is kind of mainstream. It's basically going to be coming from the same people that give us NOAA and NASA. So, we have to look at this critically, of course. And so ever since astronomers spotted it, Oumuamua, it's had a lot of questions. And so they are now saying that they know where it basically came from. And so looking at the data and the trajectory and everything, they're trying to figure out where did it possibly come from and originate from. Well, their best guesses is a red dwarf, HIP 3757. That's a red dwarf sun. Another sun-like star, HD 292249, and then possibly 2 other stars without manageable nicknames as yet. So these are the stars that they think probably birthed it. And it's interesting because the Hawaiian word, Oumuamua, means messenger from afar, arriving first. So what are they hinting at there? And they do hint at things. When you have an agency that names something Enlil out of Sumerian mythology, and then here they're giving it a Hawaiian name, and Hawaii has dominated our attention with the eruption that we had going on at Kilauea for over 3 months. Interesting, right? And now there's the name that they give it means messenger from afar arriving first. So what's arriving next? Blue Kachina? Red Kachina? Is that what they're hinting at? Nibiru? And, some will laugh it off. Others will say, yeah, of course, because they have to disclose. They always have to disclose. So, Oumuamua, the messenger arriving from afar, arriving from possibly a red dwarf, yet arriving first in Hawaiian. Very interesting, to say the least. And so, this new research is described in a paper posted September 24th to the preprint site, and it gives it out there. And it's been accepted for publication in the Astrophysical Journal. Very interesting. The messenger from afar arriving first. Is there consciousness after death? And this is from one of our family, and he's a very interesting person that has basically a really interesting theory on how storms and everything we see electromagnetically in our air, especially storms. Storms are manifestations of something going on in the interior of the planet. And so he's sent me a lot of interesting things over the months. And this one is there consciousness after death? Exploring the theory of orchestrated objective reduction. And this is very, very interesting stuff and makes a lot of sense. So, of course, anytime you get truth, you'll get, people trying to debunk it. And so this is getting into some of the science and quantum physics behind consciousness. So in past times, those of us who believe in higher consciousness have been ridiculed. Those who practice astral projection, experience lucid dreaming or deep meditation that transcends the physical realm. Those of us who experience contact with spirits or higher beings, psychics, mediums, we always get the woo-woo comments or funny looks. Even us brainwave entrainment enthusiasts get laughed at on occasion by those who have no idea of the science behind frequency response and how different frequencies change the way we think and feel, and indeed how frequencies control the natural world. To think outside societal norms requires a thick skin. We go with our intuition, with what seems plausible. We trust in science, which tends to catch up eventually and prove that we aren't living in la-la land. So how about this for a conversation with your friends then? Imagine if consciousness exists outside the body. I mean, have you ever questioned where consciousness comes from? Where do thoughts come from? How do they appear in the brain or mind? You can't think thoughts. You can't stop thinking either. There is seemingly no filter. Well, you can stop it if you really do, and basically pay attention to meditation and practice on a regular basis. And when you do stop the brain from firing like that and switch it into a different gear, then the expansiveness of consciousness sets in, and your reality changes forever. And so it's just a matter that in our culture, it's something that most people don't take the time and don't have the discipline to do. So it can be done, and then you don't have to use conjecture. You just know. So it makes sense that it's possible that thoughts are put into our heads rather than created in a system within the mind. Perhaps the brain is simply a catalyst for the projection of thoughts and consciousness that's being drawn from an external source, a higher being, something bigger, a master computer perhaps. So he has been thinking about this stuff since he was a kid. By nature, I questioned everything. Orchestrated objective reduction, and it's called ORC-OR. So when I heard about the theory of ORC-OR, or orchestrated objective reduction, I was intrigued. The theory provides a scientific framework, as yet disproven, that consciousness manifests in living things through quantum microtubules in the brain and is not a byproduct of the brain itself. So what does that mean? Basically, it means that microtubules in the brain and the bodies of simple cell organisms like paramecium, which exhibit behaviors of consciousness, are acting like antennae for consciousness. And that consciousness is actually a non-local property. And that is the reality of it. And we get that basically through all the mystery traditions that go back thousands of years, and it probably go back to much higher societies, much more advanced time periods. And, it's just an accepted thing through these traditions. And also, it's taught how to experience it. So, imagine there are little antennas in your brain receiving signals from an external source, and the brain processes the signals into thoughts and emotions, consciousness. Orchestrative objective reduction was first put forward in the mid-1990s by eminent mathematical physicist Sir Roger Penrose and prominent anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff, MD. They suggested that quantum vibrational computations in microtubules were orchestrated, by synaptic inputs and memory stored in microtubules and terminated by objective reduction, hence OR. Microtubules are major components of the cell structural skeleton. This theory was harshly criticized from its inception, as the brain was considered too warm, wet, and noisy for seemingly delicate quantum processes. However, evidence has now shown warm quantum coherence in plant photosynthesis, bird brain navigation, our sense of smell, and brain microtubules. Nature always proves us wrong, doesn't she? The recent discovery of warm temperature quantum vibrations in microtubules inside brain neurons by the research group led by Anirban Bandyopadhyay, a PhD at the National Institute of Material Sciences in Tsukuba, Japan, and now at MIT, corroborates the pair's theory and suggests that EEG rhythms also derive from deeper level microtubule vibrations. In addition, work from the laboratory of Roderick G. Eckenhoff, MD, at the University of Pennsylvania suggests that anesthesia, which selectively erases consciousness while sparing non-conscious brain activities, acts via microtubules and brain neurons. So in short, yes, it's absolutely possible we have a quantum soul. And so the thinking now goes one step further, suggesting that healing may be a non-local process too, or at least assisted by external source. So does that mean that there's consciousness after death? In terms of life after death, this would mean that consciousness may remain when the individual entity or identity that is associated with the body perishes. This lends itself to the theory of collective conscious universe. So wait, what? So those of us who have been saying all these years that we are interconnected, that we all experience a collective consciousness through a different vessel, a body, we're laughed at. Could be right? Indeed, it makes absolute sense. In fact, in a study by Sam Parnia, head of a research team at Southampton University, published in the official Journal of European Resuscitation Council with the title Aware Awareness During Resuscitation, a prospective study which included more than 2,000 persons who suffered cardiac arrest and who successfully responded to resuscitation treatment in 15 hospitals in the UK, United States, and Austria, found that 40% who survived a cardiac arrest were aware during the time they were clinically dead and before their hearts were restarted. 1 in 5 said they had felt an unusual sense of peacefulness, while nearly 1/3 at the time said time had slowed down or speeded up. Some recalled seeing a bright light, a golden flash, or the sun shining. Others recounted feelings of fear or drowning or being dragged through deep water. 13% said they had felt separated from their bodies, and the same number said that their senses had been heightened. So Parnia believes that contrary to perception, death is not a specific moment, but a potentially reversible process that occurs after any severe illness or accident causing the heart, lungs, and brains to cease functioning. Hard proof of consciousness after death would be the holy grail for the unknown about consciousness, and we are getting there. And then this is a video below that you could listen to, and this is by Sir Roger Penrose. But this all goes in line with what we've learned through the mystery traditions and through the indigenous people, and also the Eastern traditions, where it's all been out there in the open. It's just that in the West they seem to have to understand the actual mechanisms before understanding the reality, the greater reality. So they always want to reductionism, break it down into the smallest components in order to understand it. But yes, we are all connected, part of one greater reality, one greater consciousness, and this is Source, God, whatever you want to call it. And so we are all individual waves in the same ocean, and eventually it's going to hit everybody that is the ultimate reality of it. And we are discovering more all the time. Things are coming through more all the time. And it truly is amazing, and really it's all positive and nothing to fear at all. As Winston Churchill said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself, because ultimately consciousness is reality. And consciousness, it can't be created or destroyed like energy, because it is a form of energy. It just changes. Always changing. So there's nothing really to fear in all this. And many of us have realized in our lives that we are not the body. The body is the vehicle. As the Bhagavad Gita says, worn out bodies are discarded by the user, just as worn out garments are discarded by the user. And so, death, where is your sting? As it says from the Bible, as that will be conquered as well. So my friends, as always, stay safe out there. May you guys always be blessed with abundant peace, love, health, and well-being. As always, thumbs up to support the channel. Please do share with as many people as possible to wake them up. And always join the family, click the bell, subscribe, get all the notifications, stay on top of everything that's going on. May you guys be blessed always. God bless and namaste.